For me, it's more of I think the promise of AI is about truly being your assistant over your life. If you could make use of that somehow, like a living autobiography. Here's how I would use it. I would use it just like a journal. If I interact with it and then I mention something like, hey, I write my journal and I said I had a really tough day with so-and-so today for X, Y, and Z reasons. An insight with that may be like, this happened before. Or maybe like if it can suss out like some pattern. It's not giving you, like it's not throwing a dashboard at you.
It's basically kind of your digital twin that you could be like, hey, what happened a year ago around this relationship peg? There's a job to be done there, which is, I want to know what I don't know about myself.
Slack in this case, their first release basically hit most of those. And so it was all of a sudden, we were in the lead, all of a sudden that was threatened really fast. I love what you're doing with clarity.
Metrics versus not metrics.
Yeah. So for me, when you and I were talking about last time, the thing that appealed to me when you were talking about was like, it's really like a personal performance management app, right? Yeah. I mean, I hate to say that, and that's probably terrible marketing for it, but sure. It really is about like making use of like the things that, like if you write it in a journal, the only time a journal is really useful is if you're deliberate about it. Like you have discipline in writing in it regularly, and then your mind will clarify and like you work things out, just like you know when you go into therapy or something and you do it regularly, right? Totally. Your mind tends to work those things out kind of in the background
because it's internal.
Yeah, as you're doing it, as your fingers are writing in the journal. However, like it doesn't necessarily, like all the years and months of the journal entries that you put in aren't necessarily, it's just all in the history, right?
Yeah,
like it's not valuable.
The experience of doing it.
Yeah, or it's like what's nice about a journal is it's a permanent history.
Yeah.
That there's no permanence in our memory. Our memories are always fleeting, especially as you get older, right? Like, 100%. And so like the journal is like the factual history of what was in your mind at that time, in your experience. And so, but there's nothing, a lot of that is just like written and put away and never to be seen again.
Exactly.
And that's what, when you told me about clarity, I thought, oh, wow, that's brilliant. Because I was thinking of like, when we're talking about it, I was thinking of granola. And I thought like granola is brilliant. Like I remember I used to use granola for all my meetings. But even like the best part of it was like I would use it for interviews. Yeah. I'd interview someone and I wouldn't even take notes. And we have our rubrics. Mm-hmm. Like here's like, your rubrics that, how you measure people during an interview. And after the interview, it would summarize the call, but then I could chat with it. I could say, hey, based on these rubrics, what do you think of this guy? And it would summarize based on that. Yeah. And then I can ask it more questions, and I can ask it to give me like exact examples, and I can look at like where this person said this, and I would highlight that and put that in my actual summary of how that interview went. So things like that are really cool, but it's also going back in time. Like say I interviewed someone a year ago, and I was using granola, and I noticed this guy popped back up, and but I don't remember. That interview, but I have it. I have it because it's noted. It's in history, right?
So that was like a magical moment.
That was a magical moment. And so like I imagine, what if you could do the same thing with your thoughts?
Like 5 years ago,
your journal, yeah, not even 5 years, but just like let's say a year ago in your personal relationships, you were working something out with your partner or something, and I don't know, a lot of things you forget about, or like just be able to
get the context.
Yeah, really cool to be able to do that. Or things like have it remind you. What if it could pull out events that happen?
Yeah.
Oh,
I love that. Yeah.
Right? Like it pull out events that happen, and then you have an integration with the calendar, and like you can actually have those in your calendar, right? Like,
oh, that's cool.
And I don't know, just little things and little reminders like, hey, you know, so-and-so's birthday's, you know, in
like a memory
February
sort of thing.
Yeah, you could
That'd
do
cool.
so much with that.
Yeah.
Aside from the insights of whether or not you're accomplishing
on track.
your goals or you're living up to your beliefs, I think those are important too, but there's so much more you can do with it.
What would you call in Teresa Torres's language, it would be opportunity, and then in Bob Moes's language, it would be job to be done. What would that job to be done be?
Oh God, I don't know.
Like, what is that feeling? Like, what does that solve?
I don't know. I mean, for me, it's more of I think, you know, the promise of AI is about like truly being your assistant over your life, right? Like, it's just like, you know, the biology, things fail. You know, our memories are going to fail. You know, things that we forget things over time. We're not perfect. I mean, whereas like if you have some history of everything that you've done or things that you've talked about or things that at least you're sharing on paper, and if you could make use of that somehow.
Like a living autobiography?
Yeah, it's just like...
Is this all preservation?
Here's how I would use it, right? Like, I would use it just like a journal. Like, I would, you know, whether...
Just straight the journaling. You just want a journal?
I just want a journal, right? Like, whether on whatever device I have. And I journal. And every once in a while, it would give me some insight, or it would give me... It wouldn't even, maybe not even insight, but like at the end of it, maybe, you know... later, next day or whatever, it says, hey, you know, based on your journal entry from last night, I found this event that you talked about, or I found a pattern, or some sort of insight that has something to do with helping you work out or remember certain things that are important, right? Because sometimes it's not about like a therapy thing, right? Sometimes it's just about like oh, here's what happened this day. Like I had this great...
You spoke about a relationship thing.
Yeah.
So let's use that as a use case. And then we'll get into the interview, but finishing out this interview. Give me a use case of like, you know, you would journal for a month and then 30 days later, it gives you something about relationship stuff. Like what do you imagine might help you towards that? Yeah,
I mean, I don't think it should give you stuff just to give it to you, right? Like it should be smarter than that. It should be about like, you know, it's like today when you talk to ChatGPT, for example, it doesn't preemptively start up conversation saying, hey, Rich, you know, I was thinking about this, right? It doesn't do that, right? It's an interaction based, it's triggered by an interaction, right? So like if I interact with it and then I mention something like, hey, you know, I write my journal and I said, I had a really tough day with so-and-so today for X, Y, and Z reasons or whatever. And you know, an insight with that may be like, you know, this happened before, you know, like, you know, or maybe like if it can suss out like some pattern or something. I don't know. I don't know. There's probably, you know, millions of different things that it can pull out. But like, I don't know what would be interesting. I think right now, for me, what would be interesting are the memory type related things, helping you remember things, right? That can apply to anyone.
I love, like, what do you think of the... you know, Apple Photos, Google Photos memories like last year on this? Yeah.
I think those are great. I think they're wonderful. I think if you can marry that with journal entries, that would be great as well. Like iOS does that with their journaling app a little bit. Like they don't preemptively feed you. They give you the opportunity. Like if you took pictures that day, when you write your journal, you're prompted with the ability to use that photo as your journal prompt. Right.
Oh, like I love that.
You know, but like that, it's not feeding you anything, but like, I don't know. I mean, I think those memory things are cool, but more than anything too, it's like, I don't know, this would be interesting to see like what do people write about in their journals?
Yeah.
Right. Like a lot of times it's like therapeutic type stuff. Like, you know, So, right.
Sometimes I'm like kind of just venting in my journal.
Yeah, oftentimes it is, right? Like it's like I'm frustrated by this, or my son frustrated me today because like whatever, right? And so, yeah, maybe there is no particular insight. Maybe it's more like granola, where it's I want to mine that data.
Yeah.
Right? And then I can chat with it, and then it's got all the context about it.
Yeah.
Which would make it a little bit more simpler, right? It's not giving you, well, it's not throwing a dashboard at you.
No, like it's basically like kind of your digital twin that you could be like, hey, what happened a year ago around this relationship thing?
Yeah. Or tell me something I may not already know about my relationship with so-and-so.
Yeah. Based on everything
I've told you.
Oh, I love that. Oh, so like a granola experience like that, where you could talk to Clarity and it basically accesses all the context.
Yeah. Have you ever asked ChatGPT that?
Yeah. Like, I've asked it to create a viz of like, what do you think my life looks like based on everything I've asked you?
Yeah.
And then it's created it, and it had like dogs and stuff, and I was like, not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
No, it is fascinating when you use ChatGPT in a way where it's like, you know what, I don't have any thresholds for what I tell you. You know, if you tell it a lot of things, if you ask it to tell you something about you that you may not already know, it's fascinating. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, totally. So you imagine like something similar. Like it sounds like there's a job to be done there, which is, I want to know what I don't know about myself.
Yeah, or your relationships, or like how you think this through, or how you know, I don't know. I mean, you want to be careful about like the therapy.
You don't want it to bias you.
Yeah, and you don't want it to become a therapist, right? Like you have to be careful with that. But like, I think insights on like, hey, you know, this is how I perceive you, or this is
just more of like
my perspective of like, you know, from my angle, like what you told me, I'm reflecting back at you. Like,
okay, this is super valuable, man. Thank you. That was really, I really admire your work. So it's valuable for me to even get you to use my thing and give me feedback.
Well, I would use it more. I think that I got overwhelmed because like there are metrics and there are snippets, which I think are useful.
Yeah.
I think if we're really picking out different things. I get what you're trying to do. Like, I mean, like, you know, reinforce a belief system, right?
Yeah.
That's important. I think what I'm thinking of, like for myself, what I would want is more of a kind of generic, like, you know, something that records my memories, my journals, my thoughts.
What do you think of like the daily check-in thing? Like, do you like that? Like, or do you want to just go to blank?
I think prompts are important. I think prompts are good because you need some way to get people to come back and do it regularly because it is a habit that you need to form. I mean, I'm not religious about like writing in a journal, but when I was traveling, like I did a solo trip to Japan in February, and I was journaling every day, maybe multiple times a day, just because for one, like traveling in a country where you don't know the language solo, it's kind of isolating. And being able to write it down and have those kind of discussions with yourself over a journal is actually kind of nice.
Very valuable.
And it's, and you discover a lot about yourself.
You're connecting with yourself.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I think prompts are good somehow, some sort of prompts. I think prompts based on AI is greater. Like, so, you know, the AI can ask you like, hey, how are things going with this? You know, you told me about this like 30 days ago. Yeah. You know, how are things going? Right.
Yeah. Like something with your son 2 weeks later.
Yeah. Let me check in on you.
That's interesting.
That. So, I mean, I don't know.
Super valuable insight.
Yeah. So like, you know, Clarity is a great name for the app.
Feel free to house it. Like, feel free to fucking go in and like critique it, because that's what I'm looking for. And actually, I have a whole UX overhaul like upcoming. Yeah. Because I think it is too much right now. There's too much. I
think it's fine. I mean, you're exploring and you're trying to figure out what sticks, right? But it's important to explore that way. But to me, when it comes down to product, it's always about trying to remove shit, you know, like just get rid of as much stuff as you can to simplify.
Tell me about your product design philosophy, because you've had a rich history of that. And then we'll, you know, get to intros and stuff. But since we're on the topic
Yeah, I guess, if I work backwards, like my most recent, so at Arcade, we had a very simple product, and it's deliberately simple. We wanted to create demos. We wanted to allow people to create demos, self-serve on their own without requiring a technical person. And most of our customers are marketing people. They're not technical at all. And so we needed a way for them to be able to use our product without a lot of hand-holding, no documentation, nothing. Within 5 minutes, they should be able to use it and get something out.
Yeah.
And so when that defines your user, you design a product much differently, right? I've been on both sides. I've worked on enterprise products that are very complicated, where
like
a couple, or even before Atlassian, PeopleSoft, Oracle, I hated those products because it's like I'm writing all the software for someone, like a small group of people within large-ish companies. There's only a few people in the back office that use those products.
Yeah.
And so there's no focus on usability, the experience.
Design,
It's just a bunch of pages with form fields and really boring. It's not, you have to use it, but you don't enjoy using it.
Yeah.
And so my history over 30 years in tech has been moving from that slowly over to products that were easier and easier. You had to be, I remember maybe 10 years into my career, I had this big desire to work on a product that millions of people used and touched every day.
Yeah.
And I got that opportunity a few times. First time was with HipChat.
Yeah. Wait, tell me about that. What's HipChat?
So HipChat was Slack before Slack.
Okay.
It was how people communicated.
Really HipChat.
And before HipChat, there was Jabber.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh, those days.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember that.
What was it? Yeah, and there was others. Yeah. What were the other ones people were using? Google Chat or
Google Chat.
Yammer or Yammer also. Yeah. But HipChat came on the scene, and it was founded by three guys. These guys from went to school together, and they're kind of serial entrepreneurs, and they built another product called HipCal. They sold that off, and then they pivoted over to HipChat, which is almost exactly Slack was modeled after HipChat. HipChat was a fast-growing application, SaaS product. 3 people, 3 founders, 4 people that were the company.
Before it was cool.
Yeah. It was really cool. It was 2012. I was the first Atlassian they met, and we were in already talks with them to acquire them.
Okay.
And I remember, I think it was my first 2 weeks at Atlassian, I was told hey, go visit them because they're down the street from us. So I went over there, visited them, hacked on their product for a little bit, did a little Jira integration with them.
Cool.
And cool guys. We eventually acquired them, and Atlassian ran HipChat for a couple of years. I don't know, 3-4 years until kind of Slack ate our lunch. And there's a lot of learnings from that. But that was the first product that
you really got into the design. And
I got into design. I ended up leading the team that rewrote the web client.
Okay. Rewriting is hard. Rewriting is hard.
Yeah. And so
you rewrote it into something.
Yeah, because there used to be this Adobe Air app. That was the original app it was created in. And when we acquired them, a lot of the customers were asking for mobile apps and native apps. And so, the team grew from that 4-person team to Atlassian just threw bodies at it. Eventually we got to about 20 people, and we had native developers pretty much on every platform building basically just parity with what was there. So there was no, for a year, little over a year, there was really no innovation. It was just rewriting, a lot of rewriting. And so I was on the web client side. We were rewriting this app, which is like a 20,000 line jQuery app. It was crazy.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So what were so you talked about how at Arcade you had a particular ICP or ideal customer profile and persona, and that informed the design constraints. So what are the design constraints around HipChat?
So HipChat, I mean, the design...
how do you think about that with the rewrite?
Well, yeah, so it was inherently already a simple app, right? Like it's a chat app, right? Like you have rooms, in Slack, we all know them as... Channels, right? Yeah. But in HipChat, there are rooms. You create rooms and you can do DMs, one-on-one chats as well. And so it was already a simple paradigm. It's a pretty well-known paradigm. I don't think HipChat even invented that.
But you were coming into it, that was the first time you worked on something like that.
It's the first time I worked on it. We were dealing with a lot of new technologies. React, we were the first users of React at Atlassian.
That's so cool.
This is 2014. 2014 was, at the time, 2014, that was the first, React came out like maybe a year or 6 months before that. Netflix was the first like big application on it, aside from Instagram. And HipChat came out like the third or fourth big app on React. It was very early.
What were the biggest learnings from like all of that?
Yeah, that's a separate podcast, honestly. But like, I learned so much in the sense that, how to not fuck up a product.
Tell me, how do you not fuck up a product?
Well, in this case, there's a lot to it. It's like the perfect storm with HipChat, right? Okay. There was a hot competitor in the market. It was a viable market for sure, as ripe. There were no competitors. HipChat was just growing and growing and growing, and Atlassian kind of just sat around letting the HipChat team do what it needed to do, which was build native clients. And so we didn't focus on things that our users were really asking for, aside from the native clients. Yeah. And in the Slack, meanwhile, so we had a public tracker that people would submit their requested features, and we would rank those. I forget what the software was. Yeah. But so you could easily get like the top 20 to 50 ideas that people wanted and that people voted for. Yeah. And that was very active. And so it was a great list of requirements for anyone. Yeah. Slack, in this case, their first release basically hit most of those. And so it was like all of a sudden we were in the lead. All of a sudden that was threatened really fast. And the adoption curve was
started leveling out.
Yeah, started changing. Like people who had already used HipChat were staying with HipChat. And, it was slower for those people to move off, but the ones who were considering moving onto a collaboration platform were quick to go with Slack, right? Because they had all those features and more. And so we quickly found ourselves in catch-up mode. And at Atlassian, what was it, 2013, 2014, threw all its resources at it. We had just a whole year where the founders said, you know what, we're going to throw everything we have to fight this. And so we grew that team of 25 people to about 200 people, in less than 6 months.
Wow.
And
how do you even mobilize people to be effective in that time period? That's
that's the thing. It's really challenging. We had never done it before. Atlassian wasn't that big of a company yet then.
So wait, how far into your career are you at this point when you're faced with this threat of Slack eating all the market share for Atlassian, where you're early there? I
was midway through my career. Yeah, it's midway. So it was 2013 around there. 2014.
Zooming out a little bit. So this is a really rich, we dove into this rabbit hole of design and how to not fuck up a product. And it seems like the learning there is that, hey, there are competitors eating our lunch money. Okay, the founders just threw a bunch of resources, but that didn't win. So
yeah, and that didn't win because execution was really challenging. We were challenged by the technology that we chose originally. The founders chose to run HipChat. Well, the Adobe Air is on the client side, but on the back end side, we were using XMPP, which is the chat protocol that Google had invented. It's open source, it's great, but it was not great for web-based chat. It was very heavy. It made it difficult to create clients.
So that was the bottleneck.
Yeah, it's yes and no. I mean, we also, an engineering team growing from a small engineering team to this large engineering team, where you had many deploys a day, many people, and like it was modern deployment. Like we were shipping directly to prod, right?
Yeah,
we would we would run our tests, and then after everything passed, it goes straight out. Sure. It's really hard to do that when you have millions of people accessing your app, real time, chatting away, all of that.
That's hard.
And clients have to reconnect when you do that. And like you get we used to have these issues where like we would have a reconnection storm where like, you get millions of clients that disconnect and all of a sudden they're reconnecting and they're just like slamming us and there's a lot of like really interesting engineering problems that are easily solved now.
Self-hosted? Were you in the cloud?
Yeah, we were in AWS. Yeah. We were in AWS then, But yeah, we just like a lot of things. Like our clients didn't all work the same way. Some clients worked a little bit better than the others. There was no unified code. We were just shooting ourselves in the foot because we were just like in this catch-up mode and it was like the stress level was really high. Yeah. Meanwhile, everyone's new on the team.
Oh, so there's
engineering management was really new and it was a flat organization. So everyone was like encouraged to
go for it.
Yeah, to commit and push out as soon as they can. And even like the first day engineers, there's always this like thing on your first day, you should try and commit to production on your first day.
Well, that's a cool culture. I like
it. It is. I mean, I think Atlassian had always had culture like that on most of its product teams. And, we were very much experimental on a lot of things. And you can get away with it with a lot of products. HipChat's one of those products you don't want to screw with too much because
the client thing is
it was very brittle at the time. You could, if you had architected it in a way that was scalable and better, you'd have a lot of safety built into it. We didn't have a lot of safety built into it.
I see. Okay, so it was catch up, and you were dealing with basically product tech debt from this.
A lot of tech debt, brittleness.
So that's interesting, and I want to dig into that more at some point, which is design at the intersection of architecture and planning. Which, like, if you don't do the architecture well, and the learnings from your customer discovery and experiments don't make it to that level of technical planning, it's kind of like remodeling a house, right? Like whoever architected the thing, and then if you're remodeling a house, it's generally always 3 to 5x the cost and time.
Yeah.
But then if the architect did a good job and they had great requirements and they understood kind of like the vision of like how this household or this customer base might grow or the product might grow, then you might make better decisions. That is hard though. That's really hard because you're also trying to get a product out to market. There's trade-offs with speed versus clean architecture. So, but let's put a pin in that because I actually want to go back to like what makes you who you are.
Yeah.
And you've shared with me your kind of come up through Oracle to this crazy story that we got to get into, which is how you got to Atlassian. I want to dive into that. And then what brought you fast forward. You were at Launch Darkly and then Arcade. And then you've had many life experiences, and you do a lot. You mountain bike, you do photography, and you're very excellent with photography and videography, which is also this setup is due to Rich. Shout out, Rich. Thank you. If anybody needs help with photography, videography, hit up Rich. Like, if you like this is all him, man. And future pod guests, like, you could thank Rich. But you have a very strong creative drive. You're a builder at heart, and you also have an eye for design, and you have a lot of creativity that I see that comes out in the products you build and the products that you ship in terms of photography and cinema. So where did that all start? Like, what makes you who you are?
I don't know. I mean, I've always enjoyed art and design from an early age. I wanted to be an architect, when I was in high school.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Southern Cal.
Southern California?
Yeah.
Los Angeles?
LA area. And then I went to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, and I studied math. I applied as a math major because I didn't go to a great high school, and I was like hedging my bets because like I didn't think I would get in as an architecture major. As architecture at Cal Poly is very competitive. Yeah. It's pretty well known back then. And so I decided, you know what? I'm not going to take the chance. I will apply as a math major. I really love math, and that's a versatile major. And then my plan was to change majors. Okay. And after my second year, that was kind of thwarted because like it's so difficult to change majors at Cal Poly. You'd have to, plus the fact that like most architecture majors, it's a 5-year plan for most people. It's not so changing by default. Like, it's
committing to another 5 years.
Yeah, it's like by default, it's a 5-year plan, and it would be a 6-year plan if I changed majors. And so I decided, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna stick with math. A lot of computer science courses as part of my curriculum. I had been playing with computers since probably when I was 12 years old.
What'd that look like?
Oh, God. My brother had a Timex Sinclair 1000. It's like a little tiny computer. You hook up to your TV. It's black and white. You have to have the game controller in the back. You put it on channel 3. Yeah. And you got to turn the volume all the way down. And it launches with BASIC, and you type in your program. Yeah. I had a book with a bunch of games. Yeah. And you just have to type them in. And at one point we got a cassette recorder you can hook into it, and you can record your program onto a cassette tape. Oh. And so that would be a cassette tape would act as your hard drive. And then whenever you come back to it later, you turn the machine back on, and then you turn the cassette tape on and you play the cassette tape to the input to the computer, and it read your program. Sometimes it works, sometimes it failed.
Cassette tape programming?
Yeah. So that was in the keyboard on this thing. It's like
easy nowadays.
Yeah, the keyboard was like this big. It was like maybe 6 to 9 inches, and it's a puffy pad. It doesn't have like actual keys. It's like the puffy pad thing. God. So that was my first computer interaction. And I think it's like most of my friends had like Commodore 64s or Atari 800s. Yeah, so got to play around with computers pretty early on. It wasn't like, getting into high school. It wasn't like something like I had friends who were like really into it. Like, they probably became computer science people. And, I was into it, but I liked it. I loved the challenge. I loved the logic, the math part. Yeah. But I was into art and design. And so, but when I was a math major, I took a lot of computer classes, programming. I almost got I should have gotten a minor in it, but I didn't want to.
Turns out you don't need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, so what happened after? So you were interested in computers early. You had a creative mind. You were interested in architecture, but you went in for math, and then
my last year and senior year, I mean, it was kind of like the start of the gold rush, the tech boom. Yeah, and let's see, jobs were plenty. Like there were a lot of like people were recruiting on campus, but they weren't like big tech companies. They're like management consulting firms looking for tech people. Yeah. I happened to get into one of those. I worked for a company called Hewitt Associates, and it was like insurance and benefits and actuary. So it's like a mix of math and computer science. I hated it for a year and a half. I mean, I was like there. So I tend to like my personality is I tend to, when I get into something, I tend to like really rabbit hole into something.
Like obsessed.
Yeah. Okay. And so back then when I was working, and a whole bunch of us fresh college grads started working at this place. So it was great. It was like like college all over again, right?
Yeah, people at your point in your journey.
We were working like crazy, and it was one of those places where they fed you morning, day, and night. Okay. Right? They had a kitchen was always stocked, and it was great. Yeah. It was the start of like that whole that era. The whole era. And so we were always at work, and I just found these little problems. Like there's a problem with like defined benefits, 401k defined benefits, retirement plans, and like modeling these things. And like I had a friend in another department who wanted some help modeling this stuff out in a spreadsheet. Yeah. And back then, Excel wasn't even a thing. We use OS2 as our operating system. at work, and it was the whole Lotus suite. We used the Lotus 1-2-3. So I learned Lotus 1-2-3, built a bunch of programs on Lotus 1-2-3, helped people model out different things. And so that was like the start of like a little bit of programming. And then, I don't know, like a year and a half in, a whole bunch of people started migrating over to, a bunch of my coworkers started migrating over to PeopleSoft.
Okay.
And
so you liked the people you were working with because it was like college again.
It was,
You hated the actual.
I wouldn't say hate's a strong word, but like I knew that wasn't.
This is not
me.
my forever.
Yeah, the other part was like, this is weird. Like, I have to wear a suit every day.
Oh, you're wearing a suit every day?
We have to wear. This isn't tech. I mean, this is like like management consulting. I have to wear a tie every day, and it's like like my first job. I had my own office, a window office.
Wow.
Like everyone did, which is weird at this company. But so it was weird. We shared a secretary. It was weird. It was really
That's interesting.
Really weird.
Management consultancy.
I remember there was the CTO of that company had sent out a memo, and back then the memos were paper. Like
literally.
You actually literally have an inbox, a physical inbox where this paper would get dropped into. Oh. And I remember it was about the internet because browsers were becoming a thing. Netscape was something that people were starting to install on their computers. And
what year was this?
This was 1995, 96.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and then so this memo was interesting, and it was like, I don't know, it makes me always wonder, like, I wonder what the CTO ended up doing, because he sent this memo out saying basically that the internet was a fad. Just ignore it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting to look at that in retrospect.
Yeah, exactly.
What a horrible take.
Yeah, exactly.
In retrospect.
Yeah. It's like saying AI is a fad.
Oh, it's such a fad.
Yeah.
It's going away.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, so
PeopleSoft.
So went to PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft, I was a consultant.
Oh.
I was what's that?
Implementing the product.
Yeah, implementing the product. So I was part of what was called the professional services group, and I got a cool job. Like the Thursday before I was supposed to start, I started on a Monday when I got, after I got hired. My manager called me Thursday before, and she said, "Hey, Rich, we've got an opportunity in Melbourne, Australia, for 6 months.
Yeah,
are you interested?" And I had to think about it because at the time I was thinking about it's like, I don't even have my passport.
Oh yeah,
because I hadn't traveled out of the country, and so and I was like, and I was telling her this, and I said I had all these like little concerns, trying to stop me from doing it. Yeah. But she was like, "No worries, we'll get a passport out to you. Like we'll fast track that." Yeah. So that was Thursday afternoon.
And you were going to start Monday.
Yeah.
3 days later.
Yeah. In Australia. So passport got fast-tracked on Friday. I had it in my hands by Saturday. I was on a plane on Sunday.
What?
I was at work.
Life changed immediately.
Yeah, I was at work on Monday.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was wild.
That's wild.
And it was like...
How'd that first day go?
It was amazing. It was great. And it was wild. It was really wild. I worked for the Department of Education for Victoria in Melbourne, and I was writing COBOL code for their payroll product. Basically I was because PeopleSoft at the time was not an international product. So whenever we needed to support new geos, they would send a whole bunch of consultants and basically implement those rules into the product. So that was part of what I was doing, is I was implementing all the payroll rules, benefits rules for Australia. Yeah, that were region specific. And on top of that, government specific, because this was for the Department of Education. So yeah, but that was a great time. I mean, 6 months as an expat with a bunch of Americans.
That's so cool.
Dude, that was like, honestly, I think that was probably like the highlight of my like career in terms of like the soft parts of the career, the fun parts. Every weekend we were traveling all over Australia, just seeing different parts of Australia every weekend. Like the group. Oh God, all of it. The whole, like every weekend those 6 months, I felt like, or every few weekends, we would travel, we would go diving, we would go,
group.
It was a bunch of, we were all from America. We were all expats. And there are a few from like Singapore and a few other places, but like, yeah, we had a Asia Pac consulting kind of offsite.
Cool.
And, I'll tell you, back then in the late 90s, this is when like budgets were going crazy. Like there was just so much money flowing. So the guy who was running this part of the business said, hey, we're going to do an offsite. It's a 3-day work offsite. Everyone planned on being there. So we flew out to Brisbane, and then we hopped on a boat. And in this boat, like everyone had little cabins. It's like a small little cruise ship for like 20 people. And that boat was headed towards the Whitsundays. The Whitsundays is this really beautiful, like Hawaii, like a nice version of Hawaii in Australia. And we had a whole weekend, the Whitsundays. We rented 2 Ex-America's Cup boats, and we had a regatta on the neck, another day. And like, it was just like this, like all expenses paid. And we had like a 20-minute meeting on a beach. That way they can call it a company thing. Yeah. So that was like the first, and that was like, my early 20s. This is the first time I've ever exposed
to this.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh shit. I mean, what comes after, like with like a lot of the tech companies later.
Yeah, this is like foreshadowing.
Yeah, foreshadowing, all that. Yeah. So, I spent many years at PeopleSoft doing.
So you were 2 years out of college, started at PeopleSoft, moved to Australia, and then how many years?
6.
So
I was in Australia for 6 months. Yeah.
Time, and then you spent 6 months, and then how long at PeopleSoft?
And then so PeopleSoft Oracle throughout the combined thing from 97 to 2011. So 14 years, all in total. And in hindsight, I think, that's like way too long.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I could have done a lot more with my life career that I knew now. And in hindsight now, I should have gone the entrepreneur route. Right? I could have started companies back then. But fast forward from PeopleSoft on.
No, but like for that, like, so why did you stay? Why were you staying?
So I stuck around like in 2005. So PeopleSoft had undergone this like hostile takeover from Oracle, right? 2004 or 5. Yeah. It finally got resolved in 2005, I believe, 2006. We'd lost a lot of people from PeopleSoft and then it was just, everyone was just questioning whether or not they were going to stay or they're going to leave. I stayed specifically because I just had a family. So like I had twins. Okay, so my twins were born.
Your twins were born.
Yeah, my twins were born.
You're married.
Yeah, I'm married, single income family. Yeah. And I thought,
so you're about 32.
And I'm pretty risk averse, right? Like I'm not the risky guy. And and I was in my 30, 32. And so I stuck around. But I had this very different attitude about work at that point because I was on that edge. Was like, I'm close to leaving, but I'm not ready to leave. Yeah. I'm not ready to throw it away, right? Yeah. And I was a little afraid of what's on the other side.
Yeah.
So, I think there are a few of us, and that's where I met Paul. Yeah. I met Jake.
Jake Kuramoto. Yeah.
Yeah, and Anthony. I don't know if you knew Anthony. Yeah. But we started the Apps Lab, and that was like purely.
So it's just like an R&D lab.
Yeah. So Paul Pedrazzi, I'd worked with, he was a product manager at PeopleSoft. He was working on this product called the Enterprise Portal, which I'd spent a lot of time on building. I wasn't an engineer on that team, but I was like an outside engineer. This was like my story of my early career. It was like, I was never really part of an engineering team. I was like user that was like very technical and also coded, right? And so I would oftentimes like use the product like crazy, like the best, I'd be like the best user, the super power user. And I would tell them what's wrong with it. I would patch things up. I would help fix. And I did that for a number of years. Paul was one of the product managers on that team. And he and I got to know each other really well. And this is the time around 37 Signals, Jason Fried and DHH was like, they created, Basecamp and all of that. And they were very prolific about their methodology for building a company and building product and that. So back in that day, it's 2005, 2006 or something. Yeah. So we had just left, and the teams that we were on were kind of like in limbo. And Paul and I had spent a lot of time. I think this is like, there are all kinds of really interesting new products that are coming on board. And they're like, one or two people companies. Yeah. And there were a lot of it was in the productivity side. Productivity apps were a big thing. And they were really fascinating. Like, of course, 37 Signals stuff, was the big thing back then. I think part of it, like the product was fine. It was a cool product at the time, but I think the two founders were really what made that company. Yeah. And they were very prolific about like just everything. They'd written a book on how to run a company.
Book, by the way, no bullshit.
Oh yeah. So like I think that whole period after PeopleSoft was acquired by Oracle, I had this different mentality, when you...
With work.
Yeah, with work. It's like, I had this, I don't know what it was. It's like some people check out, like, and they're like demotivated.
Yeah.
Or they can, they'll go out and look for the next thing. I was, it's quite the opposite. It was like, I knew that like having the job at Oracle, like the pay was good. Everything was good. It's like, and I'd been there for a long time. Like, like the seniority was good, but also I realized like, there's a whole new kind of world. The company's changing. There are a lot of people like me who are kind of demotivated. Yeah. And I turned that around. A few of us turned that around. I mean, like Paul Pedrazzi and, Jake and I, and Jake was on the Oracle side. He wasn't at PeopleSoft, but same thing, like we're like, you know what, there's all this stuff going on the internet. This is like, Web 2.0, like the bubble blown or was about to blow, but like there's all this stuff that was going on, a lot of really cool companies. I saw the effects of one of these companies when I was at PeopleSoft, LinkedIn.
Okay, tell me more.
I swear, like we probably put LinkedIn on the map, honestly.
Okay, tell me more.
That year or 6 months before the acquisition happened, before that hostile takeover happened, because all of a sudden everyone was like connecting on LinkedIn. Oh. And that was such a foreign thing because there's no social network like Facebook, Twitter weren't even available, right? They weren't out. So the first social network that a lot of us had ever touched was LinkedIn. Because, and it was professional, right? Like people were leaving their jobs, but they wanted to stay connected.
Yes.
And so it was fascinating to me how fast that grew. So that was always in the back of my mind. It's like, wow, that was really cool.
How fast did it grow?
It was growing fast. I mean, I don't know what the numbers were.
Numbers, but like just timing wise, like some events. I know you kind of told me this story before about how it even started, like Jake doing some market stuff, and then some of this eventually led to you meeting the Atlassian founders, right?
Yeah. So fast forward to that. So LinkedIn was kind of like the motivation for exploring social more, because the interesting part about social was the adoption curve that we hadn't seen. And for me, for someone who has always been like, I want to work on a product that a lot of people touch, right? A lot of people use. And so that was like that was a perfect opportunity for that. So when Paul, Jake, and I were talking about this, we were thinking, what if we could convince some higher ups to let us start up a lab, let us work on some skunkworks projects. Yeah. So Paul's really well connected. He's great at working the executives. Cool. And so we got executive buy-in. We had a senior VP sponsor us, and we started coding. We started building this thing, and we thought, okay, let's just explore what we can do.
Like 4?
It was 3 of us at the beginning, and then we got Anthony. He was the 4th. He was an engineer. And by the way, around this time, there's no cloud. Like, at least we didn't have access to one. Amazon wasn't starting, but it wasn't, it was all self-hosted. We didn't have access. Like, we were our own little tiny department. We didn't have we didn't have space in the data center. We didn't have anything. Yeah. We were running these things on our machines, right? And then, we got to a point where and then this is where Jake really comes in. Like, Jake's really great at he knew a lot of people at Oracle, and had connected with a bunch of people. Eventually, we found someone in the data center who was giving away, or not giving away, but like they were decommissioning machines, because after 3 years, that was like the normal process. They decommissioned these machines. And so before they retired them, they would just sit there. And so they let us use them.
Cool.
So like, okay, we're going to run all our products on there.
Yeah.
So, so we started working on...
You had servers.
We had server, yeah. And the first thing we wanted to work on was, we knew that the people component was important. And at the time, Oracle had, of course, Oracle's a database company, right? So everything that they had at the time were just like database focused, like meaning that there's no focus on UI or usability. Like they had their company directory was literally probably a table or two inside of an Oracle database, and they put a really, really crappy basic HTML UI to it with like a bunch of search forms. So it was like literally, if you wanted to look for someone, you had to type in, this this big form.
Definitely not elegant design.
No. And then eventually you get a table or just a list of people's names. You have no idea where they worked, what they did. You might get their phone number, because back then we still had phones in the office. So we thought, oh, that's an opportunity. Can we get that data somewhere? Can we scrape it off of the system? Or like, could we, like, so we eventually ended up getting a dump from HR. So the HR, again, Jake with the connections, he talked to someone, and somehow we were getting nightly dumps. We were getting employee data, nightly dumps of employee data.
I didn't even know one time.
It would just show up. Okay, great. And so we used that. We built our first directory, and we enriched that. Yeah, so we enriched that. It started off as just a directory. Like now it's like a beautiful directory with faces, all the relevant information. And then the big thing was like the hierarchy, right? Like who report, because I mean, with an 80,000 employee company at the time when we joined, 80,000 people, that's a lot of people. And so you needed to see like what department, like who they report up to, how far are they from Larry, that sort of stuff. So that was a big first like UI, UX thing that I was pretty proud of, is like how you traverse. Like, so we invented this kind of like drop down way. I mean, it's not.
Could you tell me how you thought about that? Because we were speaking about design, and I love picking your brain on design.
Yeah.
How did you think about solving that problem? Because that, like you didn't see anything like that before, right?
Yeah, but a lot of times I think when you use something enough, you use other products enough, you start to make connections. And I think honestly, a lot of the craft is about spending a lot of time. And you could tell experience does matter. I think in this particular case, for that particular problem, you use the product enough and you start to see patterns like, oh, I could do this better. Or what if we did this, right? Like, and so you start to form that, and it turns out like, what you end up with is actually better than what was there before. Yeah. So it's a lot of iteration. Right. Like I can't say like we come up with it like right away and it's the first time it's perfect. Yeah. It takes a long time. And so we built this thing. We built this like directory to start. And then we started adding because we have the users, that's like the center point are the users, the users are the employees. And we started adding social elements to it. The first social element we added to it was kudos. We wanted, there was this common thing where people, like we were seeing it within our department, where like people will help us like with compute, right? Like someone in the data center donated some decommissioned machines to our project. People in HR started giving us, we wanted to thank them. And so we created this like kudos system. And back then,
for likes.
Well, back then you had in LinkedIn, the big thing were, was it testimonials or something like that? Where like people can add comments. Right, and that was big. That was huge. Like if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll see like a bunch of like, I think they're testimonials about you. Yes. And like, they're like kudos, basically. Like, Rich is awesome. He did this or whatever. Right. Yeah. If you look at all those, all the testimonials I have are all from like PeopleSoft, my time at PeopleSoft, because that's when it was used. That's when it was released. And so, so we modeled kudos after that. And we added the social element we added to it was that it would email people, right? And within the first 3 weeks of turning that on, we had like a third of Oracle using our product. Connect.
Just a few weeks and then a third of Oracle. So that's thousands of people.
Yeah.
And then also just to contextualize for anybody that doesn't understand, getting anybody to adopt anything internally at a big tech company, fucking hard.
Yeah.
Change management, hell of a thing. Culture change, hell of a thing. And so like going viral within a company is difficult.
Well,
that's crazy.
But that's also the golden period of social. This was before Facebook and Twitter. So actually, Facebook and Twitter were just around that time getting released out to the public, right? Yeah. Facebook had been around for a while in the colleges, but like it wasn't public. Yeah. And so
there was an itch.
Yeah. So a lot of those tactics of like emailing and viral spread, today they wouldn't be as successful because people are trained not to just ignore that, right? But like back then, it's like someone got an email saying, "Oh, so-and-so gave you kudos."
Yeah.
And then you can click on a link and it would take you to our app. It was called Connect, and they would go in there. You're immediately in there because we had single sign-on, and they can go in there and they can see. Oh, it's like, that's cool, and they could compare that. So, what is this? This looks like a directory compared to their crappy like form-based database field list, right? And they're like, wow, who did this? What is this? So like we got people using that, and then we kept on adding features to it. We're just experimenting, adding more and more features to it. Cool. We added a forum, like a community aspect, where people can go in, add content, right? Like blog, they can blog. These blogs were big back then, so we thought like, people could blog within their departments, and we created an activity feed. Cool. So like that was the first time we'd had to deal with like fanning out architecture design so that you don't like get everyone clobbering the database. Yeah. So a lot of really cool things happened then. A lot of really cool technology type things, a lot of design stuff. There's a lot of stuff. We got noticed. We were doing. Well, part of the reason why I got noticed is because again, Jake was amazing. He was really good with the connections, but aside from that, he was a really good blogger. Like he would write about everything we did. He was always writing content. Like he's the equivalent of like the best content producers these days, right? Like he was like always blogging and always out there trying to get our news out. And we got noticed. We had several books written. Like we were in chapters of these books about like the whole enterprise social thing. We got invited by Google to speak on a panel. And that's where I met Mike Cannon Brooks. He was one of the founders of.
Tell me this story. This is a cool story. And then for the audience, we'll link some of the books in the show notes.
Yeah. And so we did all like, we were in this enterprise social space for a while at Oracle, and we got invited to a few things. And then there were a lot of movement, when at this point, like Facebook has been out, Google was kind of panicking about like what they were going to do when it came to social. Google's always like at the tail end of things, right? Like, so they're always catching up. And so they decided, you know what, this is open source is huge back then, like, and so they wanted to build out in the public. And so they created this project called Open Social, which was like their answer to Facebook. Like they wanted to create this like set of technologies and specifications that would allow any company to create a social network. Oh, cool, yeah. And so you got all kinds of crappy social networks out there. Orkut, High Five. Yeah. There's a dozen of these, like, and every country had one, right? Okay. But Open Social was a thing, and we at the time were looking at like maybe we should use this. Maybe we should use this to create our product. By at this point, we were still trying to sell our product internally to Larry to basically like, hey, we want to.
Oh, you had to product even though it got virality internally? Like,
yeah, he didn't care about that. I think he cares about is whether competitors are doing it. And so he didn't actually treat it seriously until like years later, towards when we were on our way out, basically. But Salesforce got into it. Salesforce created a product called Chatter. And then, Microsoft bought Yammer. Yeah. And so all the big guys are starting to get into that space. Yeah. And so Larry decided, you know what, we're going to build this. Okay. all the stuff that we had written just kind of like, yeah, it wasn't even, they used the name, but they like recreated the product from scratch.
I see.
So like, okay, whatever. And they package it up as part of their CRM suite. So, which is really weird anyway. So I don't think that product ever survived, but yeah, so we were kind of on our way out. But like at this point we had...
Wait, but you got noticed and you met the Atlassian founders at this panel. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so actually what happened was...
This ties into later how you even got to Atlassian early, right?
Yeah, so I
don't want to hear that story.
No, we were participating in Open Social. You know, we get invited to these meetings because we were Oracle.
Yeah.
We represented Oracle. You know, Google folk, our friends at Google would invite us to these meetings and stuff. And we went to an event at, what was the early social network space? What is it called? Oh man, I forget. A lot of bands would post on there. It was MySpace.
Oh yeah,
MySpace.
Dude, MySpace. I had MySpace.
So MySpace had a open social meetup, and I went, and one of our friends from Google invited us, and I don't know, I was just sitting down next to Mike Cannon-Brooks. I didn't know who he was. He was one of the founders at Atlassian, and later, you know, our friend from Google kind of introduced us, and like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. I didn't even really know Atlassian. Yeah. I've heard of the name. I'd heard of Jira and Confluence because we use Confluence in Oracle. But, you know, they're maybe less than 10 years old at that time. And I think they were successful at the time already, but like not anything huge. So I met Mike, and that was my first meeting with Mike. And then we got invited to participate in the panel at Google I/O. I think that same year. So I met Mike, I met Jay, and Jay was eventually president at Atlassian, but I knew him a little bit through a company called Plumtree, which PeopleSoft was almost bought like a while ago. But anyway, they were in the enterprise portal space. So I connected with these people, and it was really cool. And then that was like 2008, 2009 maybe. And then eventually I was like, by 2010, 2011, I was just like, I'm tired of being at Oracle. I need something new. I mean, that's like 14 years of a career combined, right? That's a long time. And so I was kind of checked out.
How old were your kids at this time? You had 2 kids, you had twins?
They were 5, 6 maybe. Okay. Yeah, around there. Yeah, wait, is that right? Yeah. Yeah, so, I was just checked out.
And you were going through a lot, too.
I was going through a lot. My wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, metastatic breast cancer in 2008. Okay. She lived with it for 7.5, almost 8 years. It was.
That's a difficult.
That whole period was really challenging. I think. I mean, honestly, the one thing that really helped was having a job, and the job, honestly, as you know, I mean, it sounded like it was a tough time, but there was a lot going on with the job that it kind of took my mind off of a lot of it. Yeah. So it's, you know, people react different ways to adversity. And for me, it wasn't that I was ignoring it. It was more like, I don't know, it was a way to cope. And also I had this kind of extreme focus on a lot of these things and a lot of these projects. Yeah. When I was making my choice to leave Oracle, that was really tough because, one, I didn't want to be there anymore. I mean, I'd spent this career just kind of languishing in this company when in the back of my mind, like after everything that we'd done at Oracle, realized that if I had spent that time elsewhere, trying to start my own company, it would have been really easy to start. We had all the ideas. We had all the makings of a great thing. It was like, it was a little bittersweet because it was like, we did all this great stuff and we were able to accomplish all these things and we got recognized for it, but it didn't really amount to anything in terms like, you know, like financially or anything like, you know, no. Yeah. And like, I mean, as I've told you, that was never really on my bucket list. I've never I have never, ever really...
Your first founder story in a sec, but
yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, so with Cindy getting sick, it was really tough, and the kids were really young.
Yeah.
And
pressure. And
it was a lot of...
Single income house. Right?
Yeah, a single income house, and, you know, and the kids were, you know, it's a challenging ages, you know, and schools and like living in Oakland and like just like all of it, right? And it was tough. And so when I finally had decided, I did a lot of like between 2008 to like 2000 up to 2011, I did a lot of what I call window shopping, where I would like literally like go looking for jobs, interviewing, and then for some reason or another talk myself out of it. Right? I'd get a job or an offer, and I'm like, not really. Yeah. And in 2011, I was just like so fed up. I was like talking to a bunch of different companies, and then for some reason, I knew like, you know, my connections, Mike and Jay, I could have easily reached out to them, but I didn't know what was going through my mind. I must have been really messed up because like I just cold called Atlassian. I went on their website and I applied for a job.
You didn't even think to call the people you knew.
No, the other thing was like it wasn't even top of mind because like at the time, most of the interesting jobs, like all the engineering jobs or product jobs, were in Australia. I'm not going to move. Okay. That's like we can't move, right? Like and. Not with that situation. And they had an office here in San Francisco, but it was mainly support. They had just acquired Bitbucket, so that was an engineering team that was out here. Okay. But I just like decided, you know what, I'm just going to apply. No job. I'm just going to send an email cold on their website. Within like a half an hour, I get a call from Jay.
Wow.
Yeah, he was obviously monitoring that email.
Half an hour.
Yeah, like within an hour of submitting it. It says, "Hey, Rich, got your submission. What's going on? Let's talk." I think that same night, he had organized a meeting, an interview with me and Mike. And so Mike and I hopped on Skype, pre-Zoom, right? Okay, yeah. So we were on Skype and we chatted for like an hour. And it was weird because like, it didn't even dawn on me to contact those guys directly. I don't know why, but luckily it worked out, right? Like within like less than 24 hours, I talked to Jay, who was at the time, I think he was VP of marketing. He ended up becoming president of the company. And then Mike, you know, at the time, the CEO and co-founder, and it worked out great. And, you know, the next day I talked with Daniel Freeman. He was running product marketing at the time, and they needed, and I was telling him, it's like, I don't know what I want. I mean, I'm a technical person. I like to build stuff, but I also used to be a sales engineer, and I could do a lot of things, and like, I can't move to Australia, but like, you know, and they thought about it. And this is, you know, I was talking to Mike and I was telling him this, and they thought about it overnight, and they said, you know, we're going to craft a little position for you and make you our first developer advocate. Wow. So I worked under marketing. I was their first developer advocate, but I reported up to marketing, which is a little weird. Yeah. But that was cool.
So like you had your family situation. How did that like, because that's like a whole decision.
Yeah, that was a huge decision. It was a huge decision.
And then you had a whole bunch of other window shopping moments when that didn't convert. Like, why this? And then how did they make it happen?
Well, it came to a lot of things because, I mean, with the other jobs, I just kind of talked myself out of it. Like, I don't want to, like, I don't know, something. Either one of the interviews just didn't go well, or like it did go well. It made me an offer, but I just didn't like the people or whatever. Well, after talking to the three, Mike, Jay, and Daniel, a week later, I actually talked to Jay. I emailed Jay. I said, "Hey, dude, this sounds great and all, but like I'm really concerned about insurance. I'm really, you know, I mean, pre-existing conditions weren't covered back then. Like this is before Obamacare, and like there was a thing where like insurance companies can deny you coverage if you have a pre-existing condition." And so, like, if that's the case, then I'm like stuck, right? I can't move. I can't do anything. And Oracle had really great insurance. And so, but Jay did the legwork. He like researched it all for me and ensured that that everything was going to be fine. And it worked out, and I ended up accepting it, and it was great. It was probably the best career decision of my life.
So you cold, just to summarize what I hear, you had this very difficult family situation. You were window shopping for a while. You were languishing at Oracle. And in reflection, you were like, I should have just went and done entrepreneurship. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
And then you cold applied to Atlassian. You didn't see anything in the area. Within half an hour, Jay hits you up from that connection.
Yeah.
And then move mountains to make sure the health stuff was good for your family.
Yeah.
And then you made this best career decision of your life.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
What did that teach you? Like,
what it taught me was like, it taught me that if you treat people well, like if you're the hiring manager or you're the person in charge and you treat people that way, you're going to get kind of outsized returns, because the next few years were probably the most productive years of my career.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy what I was doing at Atlassian.
Well, it's also interesting to me that like Jay saw your name, hit you up, and then moved mountains for you based on the previous connection you had in your work history.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that, your reputation preceded you, clearly.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I don't know why, honestly, because it's not like, I don't know. I don't know what impression I made to someone.
Yeah.
It's always kind of surprised me sometimes. Like people will like say something about you and like they'll remember something and I was surprised by that. Like I only had a few interactions with Mike and Jay.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I did know he did mention like, he read our blog. That wasn't my blog. It was Jake's. Jake wrote that.
Yeah.
But, he wrote about us. He wrote about like what we did and how we were pushing things at Oracle. How we were trying to steer that ship even just 1 degree over,
Yeah.
And I guess that was pretty admirable from Mike's perspective. So, yeah. So, I mean, I learned a lot. I think, most of my career at Atlassian was very productive.
Yeah, tell me about, you said it was like the most productive 3 years.
I would even say like the first few months, honestly, like first 3 months was mind blowing to me. It was the first time I'd ever, coming from Oracle, which is a very closed wall, like Larry's pretty well known for having multiple, lots of silos, but like having multiple silos, departments, building essentially the same product, like having them compete against each other. And it was just like crazy. Yeah. And whereas at Atlassian, everything was out in the open. One of the values are open company, no bullshit. Okay. And what that meant was like literally like everything's out in the open. That company ran off of Confluence. Everything was in this open wiki. Yeah. You could find out who you sold the product to, and like, you can see the sales calls. You could, all of it, all the history of everything was there, which I thought was fascinating. For someone coming in new, it was a treasure trove of like information to like mine for like just stuff, like decisions on product, or like if I needed to find why they built it this way, I could do that, right? Like it was
way different.
It was way different.
It was 180.
Yeah, and I'd never experienced that before, and it was mind blowing. But not only that, there was like so many other values of the company that were just like spot on. Like like being the change you seek. Where it's like we at PeopleSoft, I'd always heard that as like apologize later, do it anyway, sort of thing. And at Atlassian, it's like being the change you seek. It's like basically like just do it. Like do it yourself. Don't ask for permission. Right. Yeah. And there were just, values like that were just amazing. And I took away from my time there was really just like, I just really wanted to recreate that somewhere else. Right. And I think if you ask any Atlassian that spent any time during those early years there, that's probably what they'll say. Yeah. And a lot of them have gone on to create their own companies to try and do the same thing, and build that same culture. To me, the products were cool. The products were fine. They were great. But my time at Atlassian was really about like the culture how it felt to work there. And I always wanted to recreate that. And so like when I was at Arcade, when I ended up co-founding my own company, that was like the big thing for me. It's like I wanted to build the company, not just the product. So,
what did that look like, creating a company, not just a product? And then also like, what made you then go to be like, I want to start a company, versus before you never even had that on your mind?
I was an accidental.
And also, if you could share, if you don't mind, you mentioned Cindy was battling breast cancer. And so somewhere along the way, you're just single dad mode, right?
Yeah.
How'd you like, honestly, it's like the level of resilience and ability to make progress and the self-determination, like I admire that. And so I'm curious for others, like what carried you through that?
Yeah. So she passed away in December of 2013. She had been fighting cancer for 7.5 years, almost 8 years. I don't know. I mean, honestly, if I think when I thought about this a lot, the hardest part was really the first few years after diagnosis, because you don't know when, you don't know how. Most of the time, the treatment was what was making her sick, and I didn't know. Like within 2, like every year is like a yo-yo effect where like she'd lose her hair and then grow back and lose her hair, and then not only that, like she would be like weak beyond belief, and like you don't know how long she had. Right? She was strong. She lasted. She lived like almost 8 years, and so I always say like, literally in that situation, the hardest part were those first few years. So like 2008 to 2010. Yes, after a while, it starts to feel like a chronic disease. Like she was doing all right sometimes, and then all of a sudden something happens, but then she'll bounce back. And so like, it felt like very much like, it's kind of a chronic disease at this point. And I think a lot of people who have metastatic breast cancer, at the time, there were a lot of new therapies that were experimental, and and it worked. A lot of it was working, and I think people are living longer and longer lives with it. So it was easy to treat it as a chronic disease and not be as when she did pass away, the kids and I joined a grief group, and we were amongst like others who had kind of similar story, where like, a family with kids lose a spouse and a mother or father. And some of them were sudden loss. Some of them were like, me. Some of them were like, had like a year. Amongst that group of people, honestly, in many ways, I feel like I was the luckiest. Yeah. Because it's so much harder, I think, to experience sudden loss than to experience, kind of like this prolonged battle.
You kind of, I suppose, I don't know.
For me, I was able to deal with it much more. I remember the point when I realized, like, all of our time, we all have expiration dates.
We all got expiration.
Right? And that I never really thought about it before then that much. It's like this fuzzy thing, people, you just expect that, we're going to grow old. Yeah. And, and until I realized and started treating life as like, I could have died before Cindy did, right? Yeah. It doesn't really, and, I could, tomorrow I can be hit by a bus or whatever. Like, I know people talk about that and say that. And, but once you think about it that way, you kind of tend to do things a little differently.
Prioritize different?
A little bit. Some of it's unconscious, right? Like, it's not like every day of my life I'm thinking like, what, tomorrow might be my last day. But like subconsciously, like you change your priorities in some ways. Like, when you're faced to decide on like, should I spend more time working on this or should I hang out with my kid or whatever, I don't know. I'm guilty. I'm just as guilty though of like making the wrong choice in those moments, but
we're all human.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you joined a grief group. How did you even know to do that? I'm kind of curious.
Cindy, her last few weeks, she was at home. Yeah. We had a hospice nurse come in, and these people, they're just great. They they take care of you. And I think they suggested it. And they even told us like who to go to and see. And yeah, and I still talk to some of my friends from that group, and yeah, we've become lifelong friends, you know. But yeah, the whole process of grief, like in the years, you know, it marks you as like it's part of your life, you know. In many ways, I'm better for it. I think having had that experience younger, experiencing loss has made it easier for me, you know, it's given me clarity and like, you know, what's important. And so, yeah, after she died, you know, I think there were some rough spots for sure. Like, you know, raising kids on your own is no easy thing. But we made it through, and kids are doing great. They're adults now.
Tell me what the kids were doing.
One's in college, be third year in college, and computer science.
Okay.
The other, yeah, the other one is I have mixed feelings about that sometimes because of the market. But the other one is working a full-time job. He's a car mechanic, and sometimes I think of myself like when I say that, like there's that part of you as a parent, it's like, oh, he didn't go to college or whatever. But, you know, I'm really proud of him. He's just, he's one of those kids I don't really worry about because he's working his passion. It's what he loves. You know, that's another key learning is like when you're doing something that you love, you know, it's the possibilities are limitless, right? So, so he's doing great. He's got, you know, a good social group and loves.
And you're just not worried.
I'm just not worried.
As a parent,
not
worried about a kid, right?
Yeah.
Not that I have kids, but I imagine that's what you want.
Yeah, it's huge. Okay. Yeah, so
it turned out all right. And it sounds like you found the right support, and with your resilience and self-determinism, we're able to get through that. And thanks for sharing, by the way. I know that's extremely personal, but I really appreciate you sharing. It gives way more color context to like just how much you were going through from Oracle, inventing things, like building new things, like creating new paradigms for social media before it was a thing. And then here where you're now going to Atlassian, helping them come up and scale. And then you went off a couple hops later, went off to start your own thing.
Yeah, that was a weird one. That was, you know, kind of one of those things where, you know, you find yourself, you're just kind of like blowing in the wind. I mean, that was never on my bucket list of things to do. I'd never had this desire. You know, entrepreneurs out there, people who founded companies, most of them have always wanted to do that. Most of them were like, from the day they were born, they're like, yeah, this is what I want to do, right? Yeah. I was always afraid of it. I was like, I don't want to do that. That sounds really hard. It wasn't until the pandemic. During the pandemic, after Atlassian, I went over to LaunchDarkly. LaunchDarkly was co-founder of one of Ex-Atlassians. So there were a bunch of Atlassians there. It was in Oakland. I thought when I left Atlassian, it was like I'm going to slow down a little bit, right? I want to ride my bike to work. I want to just like, whatever, like just, you know, I still want to do fun, cool, hard stuff, but I just don't want to be hardcore about it. Yeah, and so,
the same speed.
Yeah, so I was the developer advocate also at LaunchDarkly, and anyway, it was a good group of people there. I'd really gotten into coffee a lot there. I've always been into coffee, but like there's a lot of like I don't know. The engineering team there is pretty interesting, and there's a few of us, and I'm sure there's a lot of engineering teams who are like this, just like, but they're like a lot of coffee nerds and
coffee culture shops.
Yeah, and we had a bunch of good coffee shops in nearby in Oakland, and we would go every afternoon and you know, grab some good coffee, and then the pandemic hit, and I was like, oh man, it sucks, like getting the good coffee, like I can't do that. So I bought myself an espresso machine, got the whole setup, and as with anything, you know, these things are really expensive, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to nerd out on this stuff. I'm going to learn everything I can. And so you know, I bought the grinder, I bought the espresso machine, and then I again, design principles in mind here, like thinking through, like, if I only drink a cup or two a day, right? Why would I want to put my $20 pound of beans into the grinder where it's exposed to air and light, and within a week, those beans are stale, and they're not as good anymore. And then at the time, people were talking about single dosing a lot. And so this grinder, I was just looking at it, it's like, this is a home grinder. This should be like a single dosing grinder, except it had this big hopper on it where you can put the whole bag of beans in there. So I thought, like, and I at the time I was really into Reddit. I'm an old Reddit user. Yeah. I think I'm at like 18 years now or something like that. Nice. And there's an espresso subreddit that's really popular, and I started posting in there. And I think it was like during the holidays, I took 2 weeks. Actually, I don't know if we closed down or something. I don't know. I took a few weeks off, and I was like tinkering around, and I was thinking, I should get a 3D printer. I realized the 3D printers are really cheap now, like $200 you can get a 3D printer. And so I got a 3D printer, taught myself how to use Fusion 360 CAD design, and designed a single dosing hopper. And I started sharing the designs on Reddit and that espresso subreddit. People were like, that looks really cool. You should should print that out and sell it on Etsy. I'd buy it. And I thought, that's cool. Like, maybe I should do that. Like, and so I posted it. I created a listing on Etsy, decided, you know what, I'll put it. I was thinking originally $20, but then I looked at other coffee type gadgets that people are creating on Etsy, and people are pricing it really high. So I thought, okay, well, I'll sell it for $40. Yeah. $40. And I did all the math, calculated like my cost of goods and everything. Yeah. My cost of goods are around $1.25. Okay. So it's a huge profit margin. Yeah. So that first year I started putting it out there. I think within that first year I sold, I don't know how many, I think like 2,500 that year. That's amazing. Yeah, it was great. So boom, entrepreneur. Yeah, and it was like literally printing money. I mean, like, I didn't have to design each one. Yeah, I had one design. I would print them 4 at a time. I actually ended up getting 2 printers going simultaneously. At like high point, I would have like 25 orders a day. And to a point where, like, over the summer, I hired my own kids. I said, "It's be your summer job." Yes. That's great. That was a mistake though, because like I told them, okay, because the profit was so high, I was like, okay, I'll split the profits with you. So for each unit, I told them, I'll give you $14 for each unit that you print and package and send out. Okay. Right? It takes like, it doesn't take that long. Like each day, they maybe spend like 40 minutes. Oh, so you were paying them like $100. They made a lot of money that summer. Your intern. Yeah, they made a lot of money that summer. And meanwhile, because they're my employees now, I actually had to pay taxes, employer taxes, because I wanted to do it legit so that they can actually put it on the resume or whatever. I thought like, okay, that was a bad choice. I should have just paid them under the table. But yeah. But anyway, that was a really, so that whole Etsy business ended up like, a 6-figure business in like a year. So I was like, wow, this is really easy. This is the first time I've done a side gig or like a side hustle. And it really was a side hustle where it's like, there's a little bit of work, but not a lot. Yeah. And I thought, this is really easy because, it really comes down to 3 things, right? You listen to your customers, treat them well. You ship on time, all the time, and you create a good product and iterate and make it better over time. Yeah. Those 3 things. Those 3 things are the secret to every successful company. Like literally, those are the 3 ingredients, right? Yeah. If you're starting a company, those are the 3 things you need, right? And so I had a lot of confidence. So in running that company, and I get a call, like, I don't know, towards the end of the pandemic, I get a call from Eric Whitman, who also worked at Atlassian. He was a general manager for the Bitbucket side and all of that. And he had left, and eventually I think he's the CEO at Visco now. And anyway, he called me up and said, and I'd known Eric, but we weren't like great friends or anything. I think he knew about me, and, you know, we'd had a few conversations, but he called me and said, "Hey, Rich, are you interested in being a co-founder?" Caroline Clark, who also worked at Atlassian, is starting a company, and she needs a CTO, a co-founder to help her run it. And I was asking, like, well, what is the product? Yeah. What's the idea? And it was around demos, like creating demos, like product demos. And she was approaching it from the VC side, because she had seen a lot of bad demos, a lot of people like doing demos using PowerPoints, and she just thought, like, you know, there's way better tools or way better ideas of how to do a demo. And so, all my experience, like early days at PeopleSoft, when I worked with sales engineers, I was crafting demo servers basically of PeopleSoft. But I'd worked on this product called Enterprise Portal, which allowed us to skin the demos to look like like it was like we put a logo, we changed the color scheme. Yeah. All that software underneath that to tailor all that was stuff like I'd helped write. But that was like real life software. Yeah. So, and I thought about like demos in general, and I look at the thread across my entire career of like what demos meant. And to me, that was the one thing that tied everything I'd done in my entire tech career was demos. Wow. Telling the story of software. Yeah. Because I had worked, yes, I had done all these things. Like I was a implementation consultant at PeopleSoft. I was a systems engineer at Hewitt. I was dev advocate. I had all these things that were like interesting jobs, but what I always found myself doing was crafting some sort of story and crafting a demo. Yeah. Either for someone to present, or for me to present, or for something, for like a conference talk or whatever. And at the end of the day, you know, software is just like bits and bytes and pixels on a screen, and it's meaningless to people unless you can tell people what it does, what problem you're trying to solve. And so arcade was a natural problem for me to work on next, and to figure out how could we take that problem of how to tell the story of your product and productize that and make it easy for someone to do. So yeah, there's again perfect storm. After Launch Darkly, I went to a company called Mural.
Oh yeah. Mural versus Miro.
Yeah, exactly.
The COVID, and then we need to collaborate online wars, right?
And then Fig Jam came on board. Right. Yeah, and then it was like great product. It was the pandemic effect where these companies just blew up. Yeah, like they went from I think less than 100 employees, or no, actually less, smaller than that, maybe 50 employees. And then all of a sudden the next year they grew up to 450 people. Wow. And they were Argentinian based company. Oh. They grew, but most of that growth, because their investors were in the US. Oh, I see. They decided to hire in the US. Oh. And majority of those people are getting paid more, and they had stock options and everything. And so it set up a really bad culture. Yeah, that's not. And meanwhile, the Argentinians were still running the thing, right? So engineering and all that. So it was it was rough. It's the only place I'd worked for such a short time. I worked there for 4 months. I couldn't stand it. I was there to kind of help them bring up an ecosystem for integrations and third parties. It was a shit show. And so I was in that. And so I wasn't really looking to get out necessarily, but Eric called me, and then that landed in my lap, and so now you think about it, I know that was not one of the things I wanted to do, but that my experience at Mural plus coupled with my experience with Etsy, kind of combined into making me want to be an entrepreneur and want to be a co-founder. Yeah. And Caroline was the perfect partner to do it with.
Your skill sets complemented?
Very much. Yeah. She's, I was a technical kind of product person, and she was brought in the business and the VC experience, which was super important since we were VC funded or are VC funded. And then we just built and grew and built and grew. And
tell me that the timeline against that story of growth.
Well, the nice thing is like we had our problem and our product was very clear. We didn't really have that many competitors, and there were some competitors already. There's a few, like there's Novatic that had been there maybe a year before us. They were like the only notable one, but their approach is very different than ours. We wanted to start. So the big question in the beginning was like, what kind of demos you want to create, like product demos, right? Like there's the sandbox way, which is like build the sandbox of the product. It's a real product, kind of like what we were doing at PeopleSoft and Oracle. That's really hard. Don't want to do that. And that's too deep anyway. Most of the time, especially from a marketing standpoint, you want like a glimpse into like how the product works, but you don't need to do a deep dive. So I had this just gut feeling that images and video was the way to go. It was the most portable format that we can use on any device. It's pretty well known, how to work with images and video. It's not like rocket science. We had competitors like Novatic, for instance, they were doing something pretty novel as well. They were scraping the applications, the HTML, JavaScript, and the CSS, and basically building kind of like a hollow product experience of the app. And I thought, like, God, that's got to be really hard, because like just
sounds really hard.
Think of the permutations. I mean, like you worked at Workday. Workday's product is pretty crazy, right? Like underneath, like the how do you could
it's obfuscated. So like there's a lot of promises.
You could, it either goes really bad or it works, right? Like you can't, I've been around long enough to know that not all products are built the same way. Right. And some things could be really brittle if you do it that way. Even just things like experiences, like one-page apps, that single-page apps, that was the big thing, right? Like a few years back, like I worked on Trello and HipChat. Traditional single-page apps where like you had this one big fat client that had a lot of HTML, JavaScript, CSS on it, and things changed dynamically. And like that is going to be really hard to recreate as a hollow static app, right? And so, sure.
You were looking at that, and then you decided, okay, we're going to.
No, I kind of knew. I knew like that would be really hard, and I don't want to. And you're as a startup, you have to move fast, and you don't have time, and so you go with what you know best, right? And our bet was on images and video. That turned out to be a great bet. And it's much easier to work with, and it was more fun to work with, honestly.
I would imagine,
because now like it's
integration kind of BS.
Well, you could also, not only are you're not stuck on like demoing applications, you could demo anything you want.
So it's a different market category.
Yeah, exactly. And
so, sorry, go ahead.
So like, we ended up being kind of like a multimedia sort of compilation app, and our UX, our onboarding, our onboarding experience, like from 0 to 1, was super fast. It was pretty novel.
Like less than 5 minutes or something?
Less than 5 minutes. You can get a demo going pretty quickly.
So that's really cool, because time to value is everything in software. And especially nowadays, because it's an attention.
Depending on who your ICP is too, right? I've seen how hard that whole onboarding thing can be depending on your product and your company. Like at Launch Darkly, their biggest issue is like, how do we get someone to put a piece of JavaScript onto their application, right? No one wants to do that.
Nobody wants to do
that. And that's really hard. Like, you have to have, it's kind of a leap of faith.
Time to value, Launch Darkly, getting somebody to put JavaScript.
I'm familiar with a lot of challenges with onboarding and product complexity after all the products I'd worked on in the past and the audiences that I had to support. And then for this go around with Arcade, we had a very clear ICP, and that was the marketer. And, knowing what you know about marketers, like they're not technical. Mm-hmm. They would be very frustrated with a product that was that required technical know-how. They would easily just jump ship or pass it over to their engineering department. And that was exactly what we were trying to avoid, because at the time, so our initial product, what we wanted to do, our goal was we wanted to end up on people's landing pages, on their homepage and their landing pages.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. So there's a virality loop for acquisition.
Yeah. So the demo would land on their homepage or the landing page or both. And the way the ones who did accomplish doing that, like putting together a demo, it's usually a collaboration with their engineering department. Slack had a great interactive demo of their product on their website that really early on, which was really great. You can click on the channels and it looks like it's, it would be the real thing, or at least approximation of the real thing. Yeah. And so people got it. And so that was kind of what we were modeling, but we knew that, not everyone has an engineering department they can work with. And oftentimes that's a month, 2 month, 3 month project, right? Just to accomplish. And so we knew that was our bar to hit. We needed to beat that. And so luckily, the good thing was the technologies were all easily accessible in place to build a product that was going to be easy to onboard onto, easy to use, easy to put together something. Can't guarantee that what you record and put together is going to be stellar. Yeah. Right. I mean, a lot of the times the subject is really going to define how good the demo is.
Yeah. You can only put so much lipstick on a pig.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, but the value was people could create these things easily without the help of anyone. So people loved it. And then new use cases started to emerge. It wasn't just about demos. People were thinking, you know what, we're going to redo our documentation with this. Who was it? Gitbook. Gitbook is this stuff, I don't know if you're familiar with Gitbook. Yeah, so Gitbook discovered us just randomly, and we were a customer of theirs, but they discovered us. And I think it was during our second product hunt launch. And so Gitbook had discovered us after our second product hunt launch. And I think during that day that when we launched on Thursday, I think they signed up for a subscription. Their lead designer recorded a demo and posted it on their website that same night. Wow. And then he went on vacation on Friday. So I didn't even get to call him because I tried to reach him because I was going to tell him hey, you're subscribed to our product. We have an arcade logo on the bottom right corner. And I don't know why we made it an option to turn off. It's for virality reasons, right? Sure, yeah. So even though you paid for it, he didn't turn it off. And so I thought maybe he wanted to turn it off because he paid for it. Yeah. But he was gone for a couple of weeks. And so I ended up getting a hold of one of the founders, the founder of Gitbook. And he says, Scott was gone or he's on vacation. And so anyway, no big deal. They left the logo there.
Wait, that's great.
Yeah, it was great.
That must have got you. Wait, tell me what happened.
It was great. So they were a great partnership. And, a few months later, they were launching a new thing. They were launching an ecosystem for their integrations. They were creating an integration point for third parties to be able to build additions to Gitbook, right? Very cool. And they told us, they notified us and said, hey, yeah, we created one for Arcade. Yeah. We didn't have to create it. They created it. And it was wonderful. It was it was great. There's things like that would happen. And then we realized the way Gitbook uses it isn't for homepages, product landing pages. It was so that people could show how-tos of how to do something. Instead of writing about or showing a bunch of screenshots and documentation, people would record an arcade of how to do something and they can interactively do it on the documentation page.
That's way more intuitive.
Yeah, so today, if you look at Gitbook, you look at, actually not so much Gitbook, but if you look at Retool.
Oh, yeah.
Retool is a huge arcade user. Cool. If you look at Retool, most of their pages have arcades on them.
Okay.
They replaced all areas where they have screenshots with arcades because it's easier to replace one arcade than replacing 10 screenshots on a page.
For sure.
I could just re-record that arcade. Even if you did a reskin of that product, it would be a pain in the butt to re-record all of them.
For sure.
But it's pretty easy to re-record. So I don't know, the first few years.
What timing? Like, so you came on board.
I came on board in June.
When did this happen?
We came on board in June. Our first customer was Carta. And
Carta, cool.
and then they put their first arcade, which the first arcade was like basically hand woven by us. It was
how it's got to be done, man. You got to put something out there.
Yeah, they put that out on their product landing pages and their blog posts in like August, September. Pretty quick.
Okay.
Pretty quick.
So a couple months.
Yeah, a couple months. And then we had our first product hunt launch in September, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. And
so you were shipping.
Yeah. We knew and then I mean the product was easy. Like there wasn't the iterations we had, the things I don't think we pivoted on anything.
Yeah.
Everything was just like building things better and better.
Yeah.
The first engineering hire, our founding engineer that we hired him in August, September. And he and I were building, but he was building the analytics part of the product, which we knew that was going to be huge because people need, you're selling to marketers. Marketers need to know the metrics. They need the data. They need to be able to measure the effectiveness of these campaigns. And I was continuing to build on the arcade, like the demo side. And then we just grew from there. And year after year after year, it's just,
And how many years?
I was there for a little over 3.5 years.
Okay. So you saw rapid growth then?
Yeah. We saw rapid growth. During that time, we raised a pre-seed, a seed, and then our Series A was just before I left. Yeah, it was a small team.
Revenue, I don't know if that's public, but
I don't think I can talk about revenue, but in users, I don't even know because we never really counted users as much. Like we didn't measure ourselves by users. We measured ourselves by
arcades,
number of arcades, and just the metrics of like how quickly people would put them out, publish rates. I don't know what else, but it was fun. It was a good ride.
So that's really cool because that's the through line through your whole career back to, hey, we're creating this way for non-technical people to make beautiful demos and tell stories of software. That's what you were saying. And that's really cool that you were able to leverage all your experience and the creative juices of like even setting up this podcast and all that, right? So I'm kind of curious, what is your philosophy of storytelling in software? Because that's a really interesting topic.
Yeah.
And that's basically what you baked into this product.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just like in this tool, Arcade was an enabler for that. It wasn't the thing that was it wasn't like the story, your product is going to tell itself, right?
Yeah.
We try as much as we can to help you with that for sure. Like the introduction of AI, for example, was clearly a way to, because oftentimes you record an arcade, it's a blank page still, right? Yeah. You recorded all the screens and the video and the interaction, but like, what is your story, right?
Yeah.
So with the AI integration, we actually pre-fill that story, whether it's for a marketing use case or for like a sales use case or tutorial or whatever, right? And helps you fill in the blanks a little bit.
I see.
Yeah, we saw lots of different patterns, and I won't say like I completely consider Arcade done by the time I left. I mean, the product was good. It is good still. I think I think would be great is if it could, I always think like creating YouTube videos. I've created a number of YouTube videos and they're really hard.
It's
right?
hard,
man. It's really hard, right?
Yeah.
Like content creation is super, super hard. The creativity aspect, the content. I was just like,
the mechanics are difficult.
Yeah.
Like getting all the equipment,
or the story. I mean, I oftentimes want to tell this great story, but like, how do I start, and the music I put in, what are the cut scenes and the B-rolls?
decisions.
So yeah, I think, an arcade is just a part of that story. So yeah, it's a product demo. But like, if you want to tell a full story, like full demo, it's more than that. Yeah. It's like, it could be, I go back to like, I used to love these, I think there's this company, I forget the name of the marketing company or the ad agency that did these. I think it's called Sandwich. Descript? Yeah. So they used to have a really great ad so Descript, they had this ad on their website for a long time, after they come out and, they were a success. And it was just a story about like what Descript was all about. But they didn't show much of the product, right? And they're talking about like basically just showing all these different characters, different colors, it was really cool. It's very creative.
I'll put it on the YouTube.
Yeah. And I think I love that, right? I love when the story of your product extends beyond your product, right? And it could show the humans behind it. It could show what you're actually trying to do, how you're trying to improve your world or, your customer's world somehow. I love that. And I know not everyone's product speaks that way. I think, arcade is such a versatile tool. It's never going to be able to tackle that sort of problem. But like, I don't know. I have this hope that like, it would be great to be able to produce something like that, right? Like where you could, because I want to be able to create YouTube videos without recording and having the experiences that that you want to tell the story of. That's one thing, but like that whole editing experience, oh my God.
It's hard, man.
Yeah, it sucks. It's like, it makes you not want to do it.
Yeah. And I think what it is there's so much cognitive load of the decision you have to make. What B-roll? And then if you have a high bar of excellence, what B-roll becomes maybe a 1 hour search. Like music, especially for the hook too, like there's lots of decisions.
I'm sure there's a lot of pre-planning and process that helps with it, like, having a shot list and knowing a lot of that ahead of time. But like, how often, like I don't know, I'm not even a content creator, but like I'm not even an aspiring YouTuber. I just like creating videos once in a while. And but like, oh my God, it's just so hard to create something good.
Might be your next product idea.
I saw a friend of mine introduce me to a YouTube channel just today. Yeah. And he was telling me about like how great the videos are. They're all AI generated. I was like, okay. And they're like, AI generated scenes and the music, everything. And but there's a voiceover, and the voiceover is a human, and this person's, the videos are all stories, like engaging stories. Like I watched this thing about aging and it was just like mesmerizing.
Okay.
So maybe AI will do it, but like, I don't want that. I still want some reality in my. Okay.
So that helps me understand more and contextualize, the breadth and depth of your career leading up to Arcade and building this, fast growing application that has helped lots of different teams tell the story of software and their own software. And I love hearing that philosophy. Thanks for sharing it. So you left. Why'd you leave, and what are you doing now?
I left.
And that was recent.
I left in February, and I made that decision to leave.
6 months ago.
Yeah, last fall. I made that decision to leave last fall. Just, I don't know, a number of things. I realized the journey of Arcade was super great. It was fun, but it was also humbling, right? Like, you learn really fast what you're good at and what you're not good at.
Absolutely.
Right. And you have to be good with that. Right. And it's not a surprise to me what I'm not good at, because honestly, those weren't things I ever focused on in my career. Like, I think this next stage of Arcade, post Series A, requires just a different type of leader, right? Like to grow the company, to scale the company. I'm a builder. I like to tinker and build. And in many ways, I think I don't think I would be great for the company at this stage. And
that takes a level of self-awareness, by the way.
Yeah, but also it was easy too, because I already been kind of thinking about, like, at some point I kind of want to just either slow down or get out of tech. It was a little bit of a pipe dream, right? Like, I mean, not that I'm tired of tech. I love tech. I mean, I was just coding right before this, for fun. but I, 30 years in doing one thing is a lot. And I'm at that stage where I'm like ready to do other things. And so wherever that takes me. So right now, since February, I've been kind of in exploration mode. I've been a part-time barista a couple days a week.
What'd you call that, by the way, when you were doing the barista thing? You called it some kind of job when it's like a retirement barista job or something.
Oh.
What was that word you used? I forget.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Whatever.
But I say a 2-day-a-week barista, and much of it is just like, I went to Japan after I retired, and I kind of geeked out on the coffee scene over there. Cool. And I got back, I decided, you know what, I should just be a barista for a little bit. Fun. And so I work at a local specialty coffee place.
Highwire?
Yep.
Yeah. That's where we met, actually. Jake introed us, and me and you met there.
Oh, yeah. And so that's been fun. I've been trying to ride my bike more. It's not going well. I took on climbing, so
we gotta climb together, dude. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I think you're way out of my league.
Climbing is just fun.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about it when you just climb with people, you don't, at least for me, I don't care about what difficulty you climb. I care about what kind of energy you bring. And if you're just a good person, that's what makes it fun. So.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying that. I do that like once a week. Not enough, but like just once a week right now.
Photography, right?
Photography is
that recently.
Yeah, that's just more like I've always been a photographer. I've always loved cameras. I've had a camera since I was in high school and always taken photos. And I got rid of all my gear, like, I don't know, when iPhone cameras became really good. And I'm like, what do I need these for?
Yeah.
And then now I know why I needed those.
Yeah.
It's just so different taking photo with a real camera, with a viewfinder, looking behind a lens, through a lens. Anyway, it just, goes back to my, artistic kind of design fetish, I guess.
And it really is just like storytelling through a different medium.
Yeah. And honestly, that's the thing I'm trying to balance right now is it's a hobby, but I think as with a lot of things, I feel like, and I'm not alone in this, I know I'm not alone in this, is that oftentimes a lot of people will take a hobby and try and figure out what they can do with it. Mm-hmm. Either, have a goal of like making money with it, another side hustle, or growing a YouTube channel, or your followership on social media, or whatever.
Yeah.
I just don't want to fall into that trap. Okay. And I feel like sometimes I feel that way, right? Like I think I'm just wired that way, where like I need to see some sort of progress, validation, recognition for the things that you do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's actually totally human.
Yeah. I know.
Every human wants to feel competent.
Yeah.
They want to feel like they belong. And so there's always this sense of self, and you're the hero in your own story, right? Everybody is. But you also have a social self. Like, who are you in relation to everybody else?
Yeah.
Like, you can't exist without everybody else. So I actually think that's quite normal. But it's also interesting that you're like, well, I don't want to fall into that. Like, I know that, but I also...
Yes and no. It's kind of weird. Like, now having been out of it, it's like sports, right? Like, the minute you're taken out of the game and you're sitting at the sidelines, first thing you want to do is get back into it. Dude. Try and find your way to get back into it, right? I mean, I'm not itching to get back into a job or tech or anything, but like, I can't help myself.
It's like creative drive.
It's creative, and also all my experience from tech, and especially running, helping run a company.
Yeah.
I can't help myself lean into those opportunities.
Yeah.
I'm helping out another friend with his startup, and I spent 2 hours with him on a Friday, just ideating and talking about. It's like, what am I doing this for? Like, why?
But was it enjoyable
at the time? Yeah. But then you think about it. It's like, oh man. Is that what I wanted to do with my time? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I go back and forth. I mean, you have to scratch your own itch sometimes, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Are there other itches that I'm not feeling as much that I should?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. So wait, I know this has been a lot. And I think this is a good point to maybe like summarize and end it. But Rich, you've had like a very inspiring career. And I'll say for myself, when we met, you inspired me. Actually, like even Clarity, you gave me some feedback on this. I was listening and I have tape now of your feedback. I'm going to go back to that and look at that 10 times. And you inspired me to get into the details. And when I first met you, I was like, man, I want to be rich at some point. Like I want to be able to build things and, you know, in 20 years, still be building things. Like I just love the thought of that. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say, like, when Jake introduced us, it was very timely because I was thinking about the next problems I wanted to solve. And then every entrepreneur has a certain set of skills, right? And I was just like, I think I'll probably always need a technical co-founder because I'm much more on the product side. I could get into code and stuff like that, but my code's shit for sure. I'm never going to be a performance engineer for sure. I can prototype shit and get things working, but like getting into production, different story.
People
AI
say that.
makes it different. AI makes it different.
People say that about me all the time anyway, so.
No, but like, I just want to say like your story super inspired me. Just like how you handled the hardship, your self-determinism, your resilience to get through all that, and then go make a dent in the world. Like I feel like that's what I want to do. So I really appreciate you sharing this story with me and with everybody else who could also learn from getting the details. So thank you. And then also another shout out, because Rich probably won't talk himself up. Rich is dope as fuck. Like he's set up this pod. So anything like this whole set, great. And now I have something to work with for the future. He's helped me with photo shoots. He's given me another lens on how I might look at a scene. And that in itself is so valuable. So if you need photography stuff, videography stuff, if by the time you watch this and Rich is still offering any of that and he's still trying to scratch that itch and he hasn't got back in the game of tech or whatever, hit him up. I'll throw his Instagram and his website on the YouTube links in the show notes and stuff like that. But Rich, is there anything you want to wrap up with and like let people know where to find you, like anything you're doing, whatever? Like,
come visit me at Highwire Coffee, I guess. I'll make a good coffee. No, I don't have anything other than just like live your life as best as possible, you know?
Like, what if there was a 22-year-old Rich coming out of college watching this? What would you tell him?
Ooh, good one. Don't waste the opportunities, you know? Don't spend 14 years at a job, you know, that you could have been doing on your own. And I think that's, I don't have any regrets. I wouldn't say that's a regret, like working at Oracle and PeopleSoft. I think that led me to the next steps, honestly. So I mean, I tended to be, looking at my career, like I tended to be in the back seat most of the time. And luckily it was good. I would probably suggest to move up to the front, you know, and maybe even get towards the driver's seat and figure out how to control, like, and how to do something more meaningful maybe with your career. I don't know. I was lucky. It was all meaningful to me. But in hindsight, I think about it, it's like, oh yeah, I could have done that. I could have done this. But in the end, I'm pretty happy where I am. So
so
no regrets.
It sounds like the lesson there is learn from what you've done, but also don't ruminate in the past.
Yeah.
And try to live with no regrets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on the pod.
Yeah.
This is great.
Sure thing.
And everybody, you could all catch Rich on all the links I'll add to the show notes. And I hope you all got a lot out of this. I have. And to my future self, hopefully I'm still getting the details like Rich taught me. So, and then that'll get me, Clarity is going to blow up at some point. Like,
I hope so.
And I'm going to get this feedback, integrate it, grind on the UX, and it's going to be really clear.
Yeah, so. I hope so.
Thanks, man.
All right. Take care.